Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. There seems to be some ambiguity with what Elon said in regards to the 70 to 80% growth targets from Berlin. Elon first talks about how the world needs around 300 terawatt hours of batteries to transition to renewable energy. He then says he thinks Tesla is doing a good job by growing 70 to 80% a year on average, and maybe even faster than that in the future. Now, some people have inferred this to mean vehicles, and others think he is referring to batteries. And I can understand both arguments. It is ambiguous. Elon referred to the previous growth figure of 70 to 80%, which we could assume was the CAGR for the vehicles, as it matches. However, at the same time, Elon was also talking about batteries. Either way, I think it's somewhat moot, as even if it was for batteries, well, guess where those batteries go? Yup, you guessed it. They go in the cars. And if Tesla is battery constrained with cars, then 70 to 80% more batteries would mean 70 to 80% more cars. Only 1 gigawatt hour of batteries was deployed into storage last quarter, compared to 308,000 vehicles, which are probably closer to 25 times as many batteries in vehicles. Except we like to cover all the economics on this channel. For Tesla to ramp up battery production that fast, it's mainly going to be coming from 4680 batteries. These batteries are more energy dense, and since the past, well, Tesla has new manufacturing techniques that have significantly reduced the weight of the vehicles too, implying that possibly Tesla need perhaps 25% fewer batteries to produce the same amount of cars. Therefore, if it was 70 to 80% more batteries, then it might be over 100% more vehicles. Actually, TE, that's where you're wrong, as Tesla also has the energy business, and they will start growing that, and the batteries will be used in there. Right, true. And as we just saw, that the energy business is a small fraction of the size of the auto business when comparing battery consumption, except the majority of this future battery growth is going to be through the 4680 ramp up. Yes, CATL are expanding well too, but 4680s will leave them for dust. Besides, it would appear that most of CATL's LFP batteries are earmarked for standard range Teslas in China too. But eventually Tesla will use batteries for energy. Well, that's the plan, except Tesla is going big, massive, to the extreme. It will require Tesla's LFP batteries for energy. Tesla will not be ramping up energy in any major way until they have their own in-house LFP batteries. And you can tell me about their Megapack factories and CATL or LFP manufacturers all you like, but if you're saying that, then you are thinking too small. In fact, far too small. We know how big to think. 300 terawatt hours big. CATL are at an annual rate of around 0.03% of that. Yeah, does that put it into perspective? And CATL haven't even demonstrated any methods of growing exponentially faster. In the meantime, we will see this massive 70 to 80% growth, or more, as Elon said, in the vehicles for the time being. I mean, we are assuming that the battery factories in Texas and Berlin collectively might produce 500 gigawatt hours a year of 4680 batteries. At an average of 60 kilowatt hours a vehicle, that's over 8 million a year. Then on top of that, whatever other factories Tesla build, and all of Tesla's battery suppliers. So we should see enough batteries for around 10 million vehicles, pretty much just from existing fabs, which at 80% growth would mean we hit that in 3 years' time. The 4680 batteries are only for vehicles. That is what they were designed for, including all the chemistry inside and the nickel cathode. Yes, Tesla have used nickel cathode batteries in the past for energy storage with 2170 batteries, but they were not profitable, but they had little alternative. Now, Tesla are actually using some LFP batteries for energy, and we might even see some sort of profit in that business soon. But until then, energy has not been profitable. In fact, it does scrape a tiny gross profit some quarters, but if you factor in the net profit, then it's a loss. But cars, well, you put those batteries into cars and the profits are huge. That is an extreme opportunity cost to build out energy, which again makes me think that cars will take precedence for these batteries over energy. Energy is taking a backseat anyway until Tesla can finally make their own in-house LFP batteries, and it's going to be a while. It's going to have taken Tesla 2 years to get to volume production of the 4680 battery since its announcement on Battery Day. We've not yet had any announcement about Tesla's in-house LFP batteries yet. It is the most important product reveal in the company's history. Elon himself even saying 80% of products will have LFP batteries. That also doesn't even imply that the other 20% will be nickel. There may be manganese solutions too. So LFP could be produced something like 10 times the level of the nickel 4680 batteries, which probably does sound about right. So even if that's 2 years away, then this 70 to 80% growth in the meantime must be happening in the vehicle business, which would take us to over 5 million vehicles in 2024. As a stockholder, then you are doing very well if Tesla hits 5 million sales a year by then, even if FSD is still not ready. These cars just carry so much profit, it definitely has an impact. I'm just not sure this growth is going to slow down, and I think there's a chance the growth that Elon was talking about, the 70 to 80%, is just vehicles, whether he meant that directly or indirectly. But if it's not, and he's just talking about batteries, well, that's not a bad thing. These batteries are going to be appropriated to the right resources anyway. Energy will become massively profitable. However, if these LFP batteries are seriously ramping up, then they'll also be used for vehicles too. So you can't have energy ramping up without more vehicles ramping up too. These LFP batteries are going to be seriously low cost, something like $3,000 for the cells in the car, at least before inflation messed up everything. Can you imagine the profit Tesla can achieve in their vehicles with batteries costing that little? Can you imagine the demand Tesla can generate by being able to drop the price of their vehicles, whilst also maintaining the same profit and ramping up more vehicles? I would hope though that after all the practice Tesla have had with the 4680 lines, that they would now be able to get an LFP line up and running a lot quicker. Hopefully they have really mastered that dry battery electrode process. This is still misunderstood by so many people, some who you'd call credible in the community even, who seem to think that LFP is some saviour and is the reason we can make so many batteries. But it's the dry battery electrode process that helps us make the quantity of batteries that is required. LFP is good because the ingredients are more abundant and lower cost. Tesla is battery constrained and will be for a really long time. When Tesla make more batteries, it's a lot easier to build more car manufacturing fabs to cater to these batteries, rather than the other way around. Batteries are the bottleneck, not car factories. Batteries are the leading indicator as to the growth of this company. And don't forget what I keep telling you about the economies of scale and how we have modelled it in the past. 70 to 80% growth equates to a lot more than 70 to 80% profit increases. This is absolutely insane profit that will also be reinvested back into the company and further aid growth and improve profits, unlike every other BEV manufacturer who has to find some other resource in order to afford to cover the costs of growing a losing company with no path to profitability. Remember why so many people bet against Tesla in the first place and shorted it. It was mainly the odds. No new car companies ever make it. There is too much stacked against them. The odds were not in Tesla's favour, and Tesla nearly went under on several occasions. But Tesla did make it, and now, for some reason, people think that because Tesla has made it, that everyone else can. The odds are still stacked against them. These BEV companies have absolutely insane burn rates, and no way of making a profit before then. I don't know why the Tesla Q community don't just move over to Rivian or Lucid for the reason they jumped onto Tesla. I believe that one way or another, we can only infer that this growth rate is in cars, at least for the next 2 years. So even if it is batteries, why would Tesla grow so fast for the next 2 years for cars and then plateau or taper off growth? They wouldn't. In fact, they would likely have even better economies of scale, more efficient processes, more demand, and likely be able to hit 20 million vehicles a year in perhaps 6 years' time. I think this growth is batteries, but equally it is vehicles at the same time. What it will do for the stock price, even after the end of the next year alone, at this level of growth, or higher as Elon says, and the higher growth we might expect earlier on too, which makes it an even bigger deal, as it means we get the numbers up higher earlier, giving the future exponentials a larger number to grow on. I know, we need some financials, and work out what is really going on. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.